At dawn on the day called Jiazi, January the 20th, 1046 BC, two armies faced each other on a plain in northern China. By nightfall, one of the oldest kingdoms on earth would no longer exist. And we know the date, because a man who marched with that army had it engraved in bronze. His name was Li, a court scribe who marched with King Wu. Days after the victory, the king rewarded him with bronze, and on the vessel he cast from it, Li recorded the moment King Wu conquered Shang on the morning of Jiazi, with Jupiter overhead. 3,000 years later, astronomers used that one line about the planet to place the battle on a single morning, the 20th of January, 1046 BC. The kingdom that fell that morning was already ancient. For some 500 years the Shang kings had ruled the North China plain, reading the future in cracked ox bones and turtle shells, the earliest Chinese writing, and casting ritual bronzes finer than anything else on earth. For the last 2.5 of those centuries, they had ruled it from a great capital called Yin. But the dynasty's strength was bleeding away. Its last king, Xin, had sent his best armies east, into years of grinding war against the tribes of the coast. And in the west, in the valley of the Wei River, a vassal state called Zhou was quietly gathering the future. Later chronicles made the last Shang king a monster, a lake of wine, a forest of hanging meat, tortures staged for sport. How much of that is true, no one can say. The Zhou wrote the history. What is certain is that Xin bled his people to exhaustion, and that the lords of the realm were quietly choosing sides. 2 years earlier, King Wu had marched to the fort of Mengjin on the Yellow River unannounced, and 800 lords, the chronicles count, arrived on their own to join him. Wu judged the hour not yet come, and turned back. Now, with the Shang armies mired in the east, it had come. The Zhou column crossed the river and swung northeast, toward the capital. The core of Wu's army was small and professional. 300 war chariots. 3,000 picked men called the Tiger Guards. 45,000 armored infantry, with allied clans besides. Tradition says 700,000 stood against them. The true number was far lower, and much of it was no army at all, but conscripts and armed slaves, marched out to die for a king they hated. At first light on the plain of Mai, King Wu raised a yellow battle-axe and swore an oath his scribes preserved word for word. Fight like tigers, he told his men, but spare every soldier who comes over to us. This was not conquest, he declared. It was heaven's own sentence on the house of Shang, and he was merely the executioner. In the gray light of the 20th of January, the two lines formed outside the capital. The Shang host was enormous, rank upon rank of the unwilling, driven to the field with spears at their backs. Facing them stood a fraction of their number, the Zhou line, drawn tight and silent, chariots to the front, the Tiger Guards at the point of the wedge. Then, before the lines had properly met, the battle decided itself. The Shang front ranks, the slaves and the conscripts, turned their spears around and opened the road, wave after wave going over to the rebels they had been sent to stop. Into that breach Wu hurled his chariots and the Tiger Guards, and the greatest host China had yet seen came apart like a wall of sand. How bloody was that morning! The victor's own chronicle claimed the slaughter was so great that blood flowed until wooden pestles floated on it. Centuries later the philosopher Mencius refused to believe a word of it. When the most benevolent men in the world attacked the most cruel, how could the blood have flowed like that? 3,000 years on, historians are still taking sides in that argument. Xin fled the field, back into his capital, and climbed the great treasure tower he had built, the Deer Terrace. He dressed himself in his jade regalia, set the tower alight, and burned, with his hoarded wealth around him. The chronicles say King Wu answered the corpse with 3 arrows, and that an axe took the tyrant's head. The arithmetic of that morning is staggering. 5 centuries of Shang rule, ended before noon. The dynasty that replaced it would reign, in name at least, for nearly 800 years, the longest in China's history. And the idea born on that field would outlast them all. The Zhou called that idea the mandate of heaven. Heaven, they taught, licenses a just house to rule, and revokes the license when it rots. For the next 3,000 years, every Chinese dynasty would claim power by it, and every fallen one would be said to have lost it. It began here, the victor's explanation for a single morning of defection and fire. Next time, the story of war returns west, to the rise of the most feared military machine of the ancient world. At Karkar in Syria, the armies of Assyria meet a wall of a dozen allied kings, among them the first Arab ever named in the historical record, and Ahab, king of Israel. Subscribe, and march with us through history, one battle at a time.